Okay, so the main objective of the chapter of capital structure theory is that a company should have such a capital structure so that the owners of the business, that is the equity shareholders, get the maximum out of it. That means that you should find such a mix of capital structure, the mix between the equity, debt, and preference, in such a way that the EPS of shareholder and ultimately the market price of the shareholders of equity shares is highest. So you will be given various scenarios, and based on that scenario, you need to uh, calculate and find out that which capital structure is good for the company, so that the shareholders' wealth is maximum. So what you are supposed to find out is you are supposed to find out the optimum capital structure. You have to find out an optimal capital structure which gives the highest EPS. Is this understood? कोई कुछ तो जवाब दो. There are four approaches over here. Like in dividend decision, we had various approaches. In the same way, even in capital structure theories, we have four approaches. But we will learn approaches only in the theory. The practical remains the same. There is nothing in relation to a particular approach. Okay, so the first approach of capital structure theory, what we have is net income approach. Let me just share my screen with you and then we will go ahead with it. Is my screen visible to you all?
No, sir.
No.
No,
Okay.
sir.
What about now? Check.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay. In that we understood optimum capital structure where EPS has to be highest. Is this correct? Your optimum capital structure should be such that it is flexible, it is giving you efficiency, it is simple, it is controllable. That is, whenever you want to repay it, you can repay back. So there are various essentials or importance of optimum capital structure that you will get to know along with the theory when I share with you. So the first approach is net income approach. In net income approach, what it states is that the firm can minimize the weighted average cost of capital. Okay, it can minimize weighted average cost of capital and maximize the value of firm. Okay, so this is the ultimate objective for any optimal capital structure, where weighted average cost of capital is minimum and a maximum value of the firm, as well as the market price of equity shares. Okay, so this theory or approach says that when you reduce your weighted average cost of capital, you will maximize the value of firm. It is simple. Your cost of debt is less than cost of equity, so you should always take into consideration this thought that we should have as much as your debt and as much less equity as possible. It is always seen that the cost of debt is less than the cost of equity. So under net income approach, you should always think that we should minimize the weighted average cost of capital and maximize the value of firm by minimizing the weighted average cost of capital. This is a net income approach. Next, number two, net operating income approach. In this, it says that the uh, cost of capital does not affect the value of firm. Okay, so this approach says that this theory says that change in the capital structure of the company does not affect the market value of firm, and the overall cost of capital remains constant irrespective with the method of financing, that is the debt or equity. The debt or equity does not have any influence on overall cost of capital of the firm. So capital structure does not have any influence on market value of firm or equity shares. It also says that the overall cost of capital remains the same irrespective with the method of financing. That is, whether you go for debt or whether you go for equity, it does not influence the cost of capital of the firm. And it also says that every capital structure is optimal capital structure, and there is nothing termed as optimal capital structure. It does not say that the theory, that is the net operating income approach, says that there is nothing such as optimal. It everything is good. No optimal capital structure. Number three, we have traditional approach. As per traditional approach, it says that the cost of capital is not independent to the capital structure of the firm, and there is an optimal capital structure. There are two types of risk which a business has, that is the business risk and the financial risk. Two types of risk: number one, business risk, and number two, Financial risk. So what is business risk? Business risk includes all such factors such as market fluctuation, availability of raw material, production cycle, etc. As it will always be there more or less for the same measure. Whereas financial risk keeps on increasing after a certain stage. As more the capital you have, capital commitment, the more risk you take. If you have more debt, the repayment capability also needs to be there. So your business risk remains almost the constant, that is availability of raw material, transportation, logistics, etc. But whenever it is financial risk is based on your amount of capital what you have. So more the capital, the higher the financial risk. This is the traditional approach for capital structure theory. Number 4, approach. Says that there is no correlation between weighted average cost of capital and optimal capital structure. It says the value of firm is independent on cash flows of the firm. So your debt equity mix or debt equity ratio does not change the value of the firm. It is the cash flows which uh, gives the value of the firm. Is this understood? Any doubts over here? There are 4 approaches: net income approach, net operating income approach, traditional approach, and MM. Any doubts? Any queries over here? Let's go ahead and understand that what type of questions do we have to solve and how do we solve any question. Please do not write anything. I'll give you enough time for you all to copy it later on. About the theory, you will get the theory in PDF form later on. Excel Limited is considering 3 financing plans for which information is as follows. Number 1, investment required. So investment required is the total capital which we are looking at. Investment required rupees 20 lakhs. Number 2, financing plan. Equity, debt, preference. Plan A, 100% equity, nothing from debt and preference. Plan B, 50% equity, 50% debt, nothing for preference. And Plan C, 50% equity and 50% preference. I hope you understood that 20 lakh rupees will be raised in 3 plans, Plan A, B and C. Plan A being 100% equity, that means 20 lakh rupees will be raised through equity. When it is equity debt 50-50, that means 10 lakh from equity, 10 lakh from debt. And equity preference 50-50, that means 10 lakh from equity and 10 lakh from preference. Then number 3, cost of debt is 8%. Cost of preference is 8%. Wait, we'll change a little bit. Let us keep as 8% as of now. Number 4, tax rate 50%. Number 5, face value of equity share rupees 10, issued at premium of rupees 10. Number 6, expected EBIT rupees 8 lakhs. Required, number 1, which plan is optimum. Number 2, financial break-even point. क्या सबको question समझा? Did everybody understand the question? Let me go through the question again. At the start, they are saying that there is a company who is considering 3 plans for which the information is given, and they want an investment of 20 lakh rupees. That means they are looking for a capital of 20 lakh rupees. They have 3 plans. Plan A, 100% equity. Plan B, 50% equity and 50% debt. Plan C is 50% equity and 50% preference. Then they are giving cost of debt is 8%. That means the interest rate for debt is 8% and cost of preference is 8%. So again, your preference dividend will be 8%. Tax rate is 50% and the face value of equity share is 10 rupees. For the purpose of issue of shares, the shares will be issued at rupees 10 premium. What are you? They have given you EBIT. So once this project is into place and the firm is started earning, then it will earn rupees, earning before interest and tax of 8 lakh rupees. They want to know the optimal capital structure, that is the best structure which gives the highest EPS. Whenever they say optimal capital structure, that means the capital structure with the highest EPS and financial break-even point. So they want to know that what will be the break-even point between all the three plans. Did everybody understand this? Shall we go ahead, or would you like to write the question first? Okay, write down the question, copy down the question. Chalo. Copy down this first and then we'll go ahead one by one. I hope this is copied. Let's go ahead. I hope this must be copied at your end. This is also done. Write down what is required. Let's start with the solution. For us to find out a plan which is optimal, that is, which has the highest EPS, we need to prepare a table where we'll have particulars and then number of column based on number of plans what we have in the question. So here in the question we have 3 plans. So we will take up plan A, B and C. Plan C, B, A and particulars. In this, we will start with earnings before interest and tax. Please do not write down anything. Look at the solution, then you can copy it later on. So we start with earnings before interest and tax. In plan A, B and C, all 3 plans, we know that the earnings before interest and tax is 8 lakh rupees. Your earnings before interest and tax, your operating income does not depend on your capital structure. So you have earnings before interest and tax. From that we reduce interest. Now from the question, check and tell me, do we have any interest payment to be done in plan A? Plan A capital structure is 100% equity. That means there is no debt. So there won't be any interest payment in plan A. In plan B, do we have any interest payment? Plan B says 50% is equity, 50% is debt. So 10 lakh rupees is from debt, and on that 10 lakh rupees you pay 8% interest. So 8% of 10 lakh rupees is 80,000. Is my calculation correct?
Yes, sir.
And in plan C, again you do not have interest. We pay interest on debt. On preference, we pay preference dividend. Plan C is 50% equity and 50% preference. So we find earnings before tax, which is 8 lakhs, 7 lakh 20,000 and 8 lakhs. From this we reduce tax at the rate 50%, that is 4 lakh, 3 lakh 60,000 and 4 lakh. So we get earnings after tax 4 lakh, 3 lakh 60,000 and 4 lakh. After earnings after tax, we reduce preference dividend. Less preference dividend. Plan A is 100% equity, so there is no preference dividend. Plan B is 50% equity, 50% debt, so there is no preference dividend. Plan C is 50% equity and 50% preference. So we have 10 lakh rupees preferential capital on which we need to pay 8% as your preference dividend. So 10 lakhs into 8% is 80,000 rupees. So we have amount available for equity shareholders, which is 4 lakh, 3 lakh 60,000 and 3 lakh 20,000. Now for a capital structure to be a optimal capital structure, it has to have a highest EPS. That means we need to find out EPS. For EPS, we have amount available for equity shareholders. We do not have number of equity shares. So can I say that now we need to find out number of equity shares? In plan A, we have 100% equity, so 20 lakh rupees will be raised through equity. 20 lakh rupees, and your issue price is rupees 20. The shares are having a face value of rupees 10 and will be issued at a premium of 10 rupees. So 20 lakh rupees divided by 20 rupees. How many shares do you get?
1 lakh.
1
lakh
lakh
shares.
shares.
For plan B, 50% equity. So can I say it will be 10 lakh divided by 20, which will be 50,000.
50,000.
And for plan C, 50% equity. So 10 lakh divided by 20, which will be again 50,000. Now we can find out EPS. EPS is amount available for equity shareholders divided by number of equity shares. So can I say that for plan A, it will be 4 lakh divided by 1 lakh, which will be 4 rupees. For plan B, it will be 3,60,000 divided by 50,000.
7.2.
Perfect. For plan C, can I say it will be 3,20,000 divided by 50,000, which will be
6.4.
6.4. So which plan is good? What would you suggest?
Plan B.
Why would
Plan
you suggest
B.
plan B?
It has highest EPS.
3% is
Perfect.
high.
Perfect. Suggestion: plan B, because EPS is highest, that is rupees 7.20. Is this understood?
Yes, sir.
Simple enough?
Yes, sir.
Simple for TY level? Copy this, chalo fast. If you have doubts, queries, questions, please unmute and ask me or write down in chat. Is this done?
Yes, sir.
Let's go ahead. Next, what are we asked to find out? We are asked to find out break-even point. So let's see. Okay. So what is asked? Check financial break-even point. Okay. Whenever we are asked a break-even point is always a point where there is indifference whether you go for plan A or plan B. So your earnings should be such that whether you go for plan A or whether you go for plan B, it does not matter. Your EPS will remain same. What did I just say? That your EPS will remain same irrespective of the plan. Did I say that? That means when we are finding out indifference point, we are starting with an assumption that the EPS in plan A is equal to EPS in plan B. Whenever we are finding out indifference point, it has to be between two plans, and we have more than two plans, then we will have to find out indifference point for the combination of various plans. So first we will find out indifference point for A and B, then we'll go for A and C, then it will be B and C. So we will have to repeat these steps 3 times. It's not long. Okay. So what did I say? That at indifference point, at financial indifference point, wait class, what am I speaking and what is asked? Why am I getting confused? Break even is asked. Okay. Class, write down number 3 over here. Financial indifference. Financial indifference point. Okay. So this becomes number 2. This becomes number 3. Okay. Financial indifference point is a point where at a particular level of earnings, there is no meaning to check whether we should go for plan A or plan B. That is, at financial indifference point, EPS in both plans is same. So can I say that at indifference point EPS is same? That means EPS of A is equal to EPS of plan B. Is this correct? क्या ये चीज समझा सबको?
Yes, sir.
Now listen to this. Think about this. Okay. If I were to write EPS of A in form of a formula, can I write down this? Check this, check this. EBIT minus interest. Bracket open and bracket close into 1 minus tax minus preference dividend, the whole divided by number of equity shares. What do we do to find out earnings per share? What do we do? Can I say it is amount available for equity shareholders, right? Divided by number of shares. Our denominator is not a problem, but something new what we are learning is in the numerator. When I say that it is amount available for equity shareholders, okay, check over here. EPS is amount available for equity shareholders divided by number of shares. Number of shares is not a problem for us. Amount available for equity shareholders. Can I write down? Everyone, please listen to me. Instead of amount available for equity shareholders, can I write down earnings after tax minus preference dividend? Instead of amount available for equity shareholders, can I write earnings after tax minus preference dividend? Yes, because
Yes.
earnings after tax minus preference dividend is amount available for equity shareholders. So we replaced amount available for equity shareholders with earnings after tax minus preference dividend. Now we leave preference dividend as it is. Can I write earnings after tax as earnings before tax minus tax?
Yes.
Yes. Earnings before tax minus tax is equal to earnings after tax. And if I were to, everyone please listen to this now. If I were to write instead of earnings after tax, but a combination of starting with earnings before interest and tax. If I were to write earnings before interest and tax minus interest, the whole into 1 minus tax, that is the formula which I have written over here. If you see, EPS of A is earnings before interest and tax minus interest. Okay, if you are getting confused, I'll write down like this. Earnings before interest and tax minus interest into 1 minus tax minus preference dividend divided by number of shares. Now this is the longer formula for your EPS. Okay. In the same way, for EPS of B, we'll write down the same formula: earnings before interest and tax minus interest into 1 minus tax minus preference dividend divided by number of shares. What are we finding out? Financial indifference point. What is financial indifference point? The level of earning at which EPS under plan A and EPS under plan B is same. That is what we are finding is, we are finding EBIT. Okay, so we write down let EBIT be X. So X minus. Now how much is the interest payable under plan A? How much is the interest payable under plan A?
0.
0. There is no interest payment done. So X minus 0 into 1 minus, what is the tax rate given? 50%. So can I say I can write down 0.5? Do we have preference dividend over here in plan A? Nothing. 0
Yes, sir.
divided by number of equity shares. How many equity shares do we have in plan A? 1 lakh
1 lakh.
is equal to X is what we are finding minus interest. How much is the interest payable in plan B?
80,000.
80,000. So X minus 80,000 into 1 minus 0.5. We don't have any preference dividend, right? Less 0 the whole divided by 50,000 shares. In plan B, we are having 50,000 shares. Now we need to solve and find out X. X is what? Earnings before interest and tax. So can I say that it is X into 0.5 minus 0 divided by 1 lakh is equal to X minus 80,000 into 0.5 minus 0 divided by 50,000. Zero 0.5 x upon 1 lakh is equal to 0.5 x minus 40,000 divided by 50,000. ये समझा सबको दोनों स्टेप?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Let's take this 50,000 over here and 1 lakh. So can I say it will be 50,000 into 0.5x? कितना होगा? अरे बताओ.
25,000.
25,000.
25,000.
25,000 x is equal to 50,000 x. Yes. Okay class, चलो ये बहुत बड़ा फिगर हो रहा है ना, एक काम करते हैं. Can I say that we can cut down this 4 zeros from here and 4 zeros from here? So it becomes 10 and 5. But again, we can
Yes.
cut down this as 1 and this as 2. So we take 1 on left hand side and 2 on right hand side. So 0.5x is equal to 1x minus 80,000. Can I say now this is easier for you all? Instead of having large figures, 1 lakh into 40,000 कितना बड़ा फिगर आता है? Therefore 80,000 is equal to 1x minus 0.5x. Therefore x is equal to, wait, I am not running, let me not run so much. 80,000 is equal to 0.5x.
One lakh 60,000.
1,60,000.
What is 1,60,000? X, that is EBIT. So at 1,60,000 EBIT, under plan A and plan B, if you were supposed to calculate EPS, your EPS will be same. So when the firm is earning 1,60,000, whether you go for plan A or whether you go for plan B, everything is same. Samjha? Do you want to copy this?
Yes, sir.
Please copy this first. Then we'll go ahead for A and C. I think you all have copied this much, right?
Yes, sir.
Now there is no need for showing me steps. It is just solving easy maths at first year level, easy maths.
Done, sir.
Did everyone get EBIT of 1,60,000? Now let's
Yes, sir.
go for indifference point between B and C. Okay, so the formula remains same, EBIT minus interest into 1 minus T minus preference dividend divided by number of shares is equal to, on the RHS also same thing, but that relates to plan C. I request you to please keep on mute. Thank you so much. Please do not go ahead, check this out, and then you can copy it or do on your own. For plan B, can I say we'll write down let EBIT BX. Now for plan B, how much is the interest? 80,000. There is no preference dividend in plan B. Now under plan C, do you have interest? We don't have interest. We have preference dividend of 80,000, right? I have substituted in the formula all the figures. Please check and tell me whether did you understand this. Can I say that we can cancel this 50,000 and this 50,000 directly? So we have x minus 80,000 into 0.5 is equal to x into 0.5 minus 80,000. Correct? So you have 0.5x minus 40,000 is equal to 0.5x minus 80,000. So can I say it will be 0.5x minus 0.5x is equal to 40,000 minus 80,000. Can you solve this ahead? Is there any possibility to get an answer of x? Is there any possibility over here?
No, sir, it will get
we cannot
cancelled.
go ahead. Whenever we cannot go ahead, the answer will be simple. There is no financial indifference point. Simple. For plan B and C, there is no financial indifference point. Now let's go ahead for plan A and C. So can I say it is simple EPS of plan A is equal to EPS of plan C. Let us substitute the data. Can you help me in substituting data? Do we have interest in plan A? We don't have.
No, sir.
Do we have preference dividend in plan A? No. Number of equity shares in plan A is 1 lakh. Do we have any interest in plan C? No. We have preference dividend in plan C, that is 80,000. And number of shares in plan C is 50,000. Check my calculations, I may be wrong. I request you to kindly mute yourself.
Three lakh 20,000.
Perfect. Understood? You have you copied down financial indifference point between B and C? I don't think so. Copy this down. Copy this part. Let me know once it is copied at your end.
Done, sir.
Lastly, what we are supposed to do is to find out break-even point. Okay. Financial break-even point. What do you mean by break-even point? सुना होगा ये चीज कहीं ना कहीं. Financial break-even point is a point where there is no profit, no loss. That means the EPS is 0 for all the plans. I repeat, that means the EPS is 0 for all the plans. So we need to find out financial break-even point where EPS is 0 for all the plans. So what we do is we make the same table as we had made for the calculation of EPS and optimum financial plan. So we write down B, C, A particulars. Please do not write anything. Just pay attention over here. Financial break-even point is the point where the EPS is 0 for all the 3 plans. Okay. For that, what we do is we will start with EBIT. We will complete the particulars first. Okay. We start with EBIT less interest. We get EBT less tax at the rate 50%. We get EAT less preference dividend. We get amount available for equity shareholders. Okay, when your EPS is 0, can I say your amount available for equity shareholders will also be 0? I repeat, we have to do a bottom-up approach. That means we need to start writing down figures from the bottom and then complete the whole table. Normally what we do is we start with EBIT and then come to amount available for equity shareholders. But here in this, what we are supposed to do is we need to start from bottom. Why? Because we want the EPS to be 0. For us to have EPS 0, can I say amount available for equity shareholders will be 0. Coming to plan C, we have a preference dividend of 80,000. Is that correct? We don't have preference dividend in A and B. So can I say that earnings after tax for A will also be 0, B will be 0, but for C it has to be 80,000. Are you all getting confused? My whiteboard is stuck. Okay. Can I say earnings after tax has to be 0 and over here 80,000? Then only our amount available for equity shareholders. Yes? इतना टेबल
Yes,
समझा
sir.
क्या?
So,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, can I say if tax is 50%, earnings before tax, if it is 100, earnings after tax will be 50%? Yes. Earnings after tax for plan C is 80,000. Earnings after tax for plan C is 80,000, which is 50%. So can I say tax 50% will also be 80,000 rupees? And earnings before tax has to be 1,60,000. तब जाके मुझे earnings after tax 50% मिलेगा. Yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Our earnings after tax For plan A and B, our earnings after tax is 0. So can I say tax has to be 0, earnings before tax will be 0? Now comes interest. Do we have interest in plan A? We don't have. Do we have interest in plan B? Yes, 80,000. Do we have any interest in plan C? No. So can I say, to complete this, for me to have EBIT as 0, here we need to have an EBIT of 80,000, and in plan C we need to have an EBIT of 1,60,000.
1,60,000.
I don't know, this is working weirdly little bit over here now. Samjha, everyone? Financial break-even
Yes, sir.
point is a point where your EPS is 0. When your EPS is 0, then your amount available for equity shareholders will be 0. Then we can fill up all the data in a bottom-up approach, where we start amount available for equity shareholders as 0. Taking the data from the question, we start filling up the preference, dividend and the interest. So the most important thing what we have is preference, dividend and interest. If we have these two figures as well as the tax rate, then automatically we can fill up the whole table. Yes? Is this understood?
Yes, sir.
Copy
Yes.
this fast, chalo. Copy this fast. Give the heading as financial break-even point and prepare this table. Complete this table fast.
Done, sir.
Did everyone understand this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Any doubt, any queries, any questions? Now, in the whole chapter of capital structure theory, this is what you will have every time. Either you will be asked to find out optimal capital structure, or you will be asked to find out financial break-even point, or you will be asked to find out the indifference point. In the whole chapter, this is it. This is all what you can have in the whole chapter. So next time we will be continuing with this chapter where we will solve a few more practical questions. This is it from my side for the day. Thank you so much, everyone. If you have any doubt, queries, questions, you can unmute and ask me. If not, we can close down the session for the day. Any doubt, queries, questions? I have taken up attendance. Those who wish to leave can leave. If you have any doubts, unmute and ask me or write down in chat.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.